provisions of the open meeting law, GL Chapter 38, Section 18, and the Governor's June 16, 2021 revised order extending remote participation by all members in any meeting of a public body. This meeting, the Great Barrington Select Board and joint meeting of the Select Board and Finance Committee will be conducted via remote participation to the greatest extent possible. Specific information and the general guidelines for remote participation by members of the public and or parties with a right and a requirement to attend this meeting can be found on the town's website. No in-person attendance of members of the public will be permitted, but every effort will be made to ensure that the public can adequately access the proceedings in real time via technological means. Pursuant to Mass General Law 7C 38, Section 20F, after notifying the chair of the public body, any person may make a video or audio recording of an open session of a meeting of a public body or may transmit the meeting through any medium. At the beginning of the meeting, the chair shall inform other attendees of any such recordings. So this meeting is being recorded by CTSB. It is being recorded by the town. It is being recorded by the Berkshire Edge and the Berkshire Eagle, as well as other members of the public. Any members of the public wishing to speak at the meeting must receive permission of the chair. The listing of agenda items are those reasonably anticipated by the chair, which may be discussed at the meeting. Not all items listed may in fact be discussed, and other items not listed may be brought up for discussion to the extent permitted by law. So we'll start with a roll call of each board. Phil, do you want to start with the Finance Committee?
Bill, you're muted.
How about a roll call of the Finance Committee?
This is Ann O'Dwyer. I'm here.
Meredith O'Connor here.
Tom Blago, present.
I
I think Michelle is going to be joining us a little
Michelle
later.
is in transit,
She's
and
probably listening, yeah.
Michelle will join us shortly, hopefully, and I am here as well.
And for the Select Board, Garfield?
Here.
Eric?
Here.
Ed?
Here.
Lee?
Here.
And I am present. The entire Select Board is here. I will turn it over to Mark and Sue.
Thanks, Steve. I'd like to just introduce Tom Scanlon from Scanlon and Associates. He's here tonight to present the fiscal 19 and fiscal 20 audits. So Tom, turn it over to you.
Oh, sounds good. Good to see everyone, at least on screen anyways. It's been, I guess it's been a long 18 months for everyone. So you do have the two audits in front of you. Just wanted to go over just like what an audit is, what's our main objective. Our main objective is to opine on the financial statements. The town did receive 2 clean opinions for both 19 and 20, which is always good. Always good to see. Especially if you go into the bond market, if you're applying for any grants, that sort of stuff. Just want to walk through. We could probably just walk through 20 financials. One going back through 19. So the 20 financials on page 3 and 4, that's the audit opinion. Like I said, it's a clean opinion. As far as the town's financial accounting ledgers, the upkeep, very sound audit practices. And then as I just want to walk you through the financials is on page 15 and 16. The thing with governmental financial statements, they're very unique. You actually have 2 balance sheets in a government's financial statements as compared to like in the private sector to companies, you have 1 balance sheet. So you have 2 measurement focuses. So on page 15 and 16, that's your entity-wide financial statements. I think probably the only ones that really get use out of these are accountants. They're on the full accrual method of accounting. As you look on the balance sheet on page 15, you'll see capital assets recorded as an asset there, and they're being depreciated. Again, you don't have depreciation in your budget. So this presentation is more on the long-term focus. And it's like something that would jump out at you is if you go under unrestricted net position, you'll see a negative 5.3 million. It's always not good to see your unrestricted net position in a negative. The two drivers of that are OPEB. You can see under non-current liabilities, your OPEB is 18.4 million. Again, OPEB, it's the acronym is other post-employment benefits, which is the promises you made to your retirees to pay a portion of their health insurance when they retire. And that is one of the drivers of the 5.3 million negative. And also the net pension liability, which is right below it, but you are on a funding schedule where you pay an annual assessment to the county retirement system. I believe that's going to be fully funded 2022. Unlike OPEB, which you don't have a funding schedule. So these are the primary focuses on these. I don't think questions that people have on the ND-wide statements. That's always good. And then on pages 17, 18, is it? Yep.
Tom?
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
I do say it here.
Yeah, I did. I guess I did have a question. I was noticing that the unrestricted, so if this is OPEB, the unrestricted in 2019 was about 7.5 million, and it's gone down to about 5 1/3. Is that just fluctuations, or is there something we've been doing? Should we be pleased with ourselves, or, it could look different next year?
You should be pleased with yourself, because I was just going to go over that on the next thing. So good segue.
Okay. Happy to help out. Okay.
So on pages 17 and 18, these are more your traditional financial statements, which is Finance Committee and Board of Selectmen they can relate to. Again, they're on the modified accrual, so you don't see depreciation on here. You don't see full accrual where what your bill you're putting in. And as you look down under the general fund balance sheet on page 17, unassigned, you'll see your unassigned fund balance is 7.3 million. And basically what unassigned really represents to you is your free cash and your stabilization fund balances. So if you take the two together, plus some gap accruals for 6-day receipts, that will come to the 7.3 million. For a town your size, that is very healthy. And I think your financial practices and your beliefs and your policies, I think they're very sound. So, and then as a benchmark, the way bond rating agencies look at you, they are really looking at unassigned fund balance and how it compares to your total expenditures / budget, but your budget's around the 28.5 million. So that number is roughly about 25%, which is an outstanding benchmark. Generally, they like to see bond rating between 10 and 15% is very good. Anything above 15 is excellent. So when you're in that range, it's good. One of the drivers of that in 2020, hence you can see the leap, is on page 18. That's basically your change in fund balance. And if we focus on the general fund, you'll see your general fund increased $2.9 million, which is very good. Bond rating agencies will look at that and say, geez, you're increasing your general fund. And the two big drivers of that is, if you go over to page 21, this is your budget versus actual, just for the general fund. You can see as we lay it out, you see the original budget and final budget, and then the actual. And as we look at, compared to what you budgeted to what you took in for your revenues, you exceeded your budgetary revenues of 4.1 million. And you'll see it in the hotel room and cannabis taxes, along with license permits and fees. 1.8 million, 1.7. The drivers of that is the host agreement for the marijuana facilities of 1.5, and also the excise tax of 1.4. So it's marijuana that helped you get to the 2020 increase.
I'm sorry, this is Anne again, and I'm so
Yeah,
sorry. I'm just trying to find where you are, and I just got a message from Michelle. She wanted us, for the record, that she's been on the call. She just is listening, so isn't speaking, but she isn't. So the finance committee is all here. But Tom, you mentioned, I see the 4.1. Where are you getting the 1.5?
It's so in the license permits and fees, if you go over, see the variance compared to the budget's 1.773 million.
Yep.
Of that, the primary driver in there is 1.5 community host fee for marijuana.
Oh, okay.
So you didn't budget for it. It came in as revenue.
I
That's
get
a
it,
big
yeah.
component of the variance. And then if you go up to the 1.8 million, just above it, between the hotel room, meals, and cannabis excise taxes,
Okay.
the 1.8, 1.4 is to deal with marijuana excise.
Wow. All right. Thank you.
So those two swings, and as we look, then this is the column all the way out is how you're generating free cash and how, in essence, your fund balance should grow. So when you look at between your final budget, how you funded it, you used basically $3 million in free cash to fund your budget, but then you turn around, you generated 5.3. So hence, when you go over to page 18 and see that large increase, these are the drivers of it. I did notice, and I know I've talked to Sue about it in the past, is you use free cash to reduce your tax rate. I'm not a big proponent of that, but I feel like you guys have a handle on your financial policies and how you're using it, and going forward and reducing the tax rate with it. So where other communities can get themselves in trouble, I feel like you have a handle on that. Because usually when you take your free cash and reduce your tax rate, it's usually a one-time revenues. Unless you have something dropping off in your budget, you can get yourself in a hole pretty quick. But that's the only thing I'd kind of caution you on as far as your financial policies. But I do feel like you have enough expertise in your monitoring and you understand the reasons why you're doing it. That makes sense. So that's all I really have to say about the financial statements that jumps out you, that 2.3 million. Usually when you look at cities and towns, you don't have a big increase like that in the general fund. Usually bond agencies will look at a 3-year period on you. And I don't think you budgeted any revenues for 2022 either, did you, or 2021? So you're not budgeting the marijuana, which is good, in my opinion. You're increasing your reserves going forward. I do think, I don't know if that host fee will stay around forever. So that's kind of, if you have anyone has any questions on any of that.
Questions? Phil, go ahead.
Yes, I have a question back to the OPEB or the other post-employment benefits.
Yep.
It just, obviously, I mean, I think we all shouldn't be too surprised by this, but if I have this correctly, it's gone from, at the end of 2018, which we don't have in front of us right now, that was roughly 15.7 million. And just in at the end of 2000, as of June 30th, 2020, it's gone to 20.5 million. So it's basically gone up 5 million, roughly 25% in 2 years. So we all intuitively understand that medical expenses are going up. But I'm just wondering if there's anything else going on in that calculation which triggered such a fast and steep increase in that number.
Well, I think you're looking just at the liability piece.
Correct.
Yeah. You also have to factor in the deferred inflows and outflows. If you look up, then GASB has defined certain things that aren't liabilities, and they classify them as deferred inflow and a deferred outflow. So when you look at the liability, you have to factor in the outflows and the inflows. So on June 30th, 2020, on page 15, if you look for the deferred outflows of OPEB 4.1, that is actually being amortized over a period of, I think it might 5.5 years you have there. And what those sort of things is change in assumptions. Maybe the medical trend went from an assumption of increasing 4% a year. And in May, the actual experience was 1%. So that 3% has to be amortized. So therefore, your liability could grow, but it's being offset by a deferred outflow. So you have to really take the net of those through the years.
Well, isn't the net OPEB liability the net of all those factors? Or
No, the net OPEB liability is your unfunded accrued liability, actuarial based, less if you had a trust fund. That's why they call it the net pension liability.
Right.
But the deferred outflow is going to be a change in assumptions. I don't have your actuary report in front of me. I'll give you a breakdown. So the liability will grow, and plus discount rates have been jumping all over the place the past couple of years.
Well, obviously, this is a fairly elaborate calculation, but
Yeah, right.
so I'm not asking you to go too deep into the details here. But again, just for it's gone from, in a 2-year period, it went from 15.7 million to 20.7 million, if I have that right. 20.6 million. Depending on how you calculate it, either 25 or 35% increase. Well,
And if you look at the deferred outflows, which is really an asset, that went from 876,000 to a million to 4.6. So that should reduce your liability because it's being amortized over a period of time. I believe that was a change in assumptions. That was the driver of that one.
So, I mean, I'd certainly be happy to sort of have if it's appropriate, I'd be happy to have a follow-on conversation with you about this calculation. It's pretty arcane, yeah. So I don't want to bog everyone down in this topic, but I would like to have a separate conversation with you about this, just to understand.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. You definitely, I'll forward Mark my contact information. Give me a call, email. Absolutely, okay. Discussion. I know the calculations.
I don't want to inflict this on everyone else, but I would like to understand it better.
Yeah, I mean, when you look at your liability, it's a huge number. Do I believe it's 18.4? Probably not. Do I believe it's 0? No. But it's all the conversations of being taken place that's going to hold it. It is a liability of your town. There's a lot of drivers up,
Yeah, again, we all understand it. It's a liability of the town. It's a commitment that's been made, and we all understand the medical costs are going up. I understand that. The rate of that increase to me is more than I would have expected. But we could discuss that in a separate.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, the one thing you could encourage is OPEB trust. I don't believe you have an OPEB trust. You can.
Okay.
I mean, that's something you could do. I mean, I wouldn't, if you do an OPEB trust, I wouldn't put free cash into it. I'd have something that would go into your tax rate more than free cash, because I don't recommend taking a easily accessible reserve and putting it into something restricted reserve.
I agree, and we're not. Yeah, so so I'm not advocating that, but I appreciate you bringing it up. But we could discuss it separately.
Yeah, definitely. Was any other question?
Tom?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Thanks, Steve. Tom, I had just a question. I see that the tax liens up quite a bit over the last year. And I don't know if you can speak to what's driving that, or if Sue could. I mean, it went from 470,000 to 1,059,000.
Yeah, and that's just principal based. That's just the real estate. That doesn't include accrued interest or anything either. So it's going to be a little bit higher with accrued interest.
Does that mean that delinquencies are going up, or?
Yes, it's a driver of the issues that were in your tax collector's office. So that doesn't surprise me. As well, years experience I have with it. I I think there was a lot of back taxes that wasn't taken, and we took them. And I believe it did you get some large payoffs in 21, Sue? I think when we talked.
So you're muted.
Sorry about that.
There you go.
I'm not used to using the iPad. I believe you're correct, Tom. I do think we had some large payoffs in FY21. I don't have the numbers handy though.
Yeah, so there was and what created the situation. We got behind, not we, but town got behind a tax title. So in fiscal year 20, we took the tax takings for 18, 19, and 20, which is the result of the 659,000. So it's kind of an unraveling of getting the accounts where they were all rolled up into one. Now they're kind of like put back to the fiscal years, and now the takings took place in fiscal year 20.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Sue.
Bill, go ahead.
Yeah, one other question. Again, a little bit into the weeds a bit.
Yep.
But on page 46 of both years, it appears that you added an additional just sort of schedule, which basically sums up the existing what you're describing as loan authorizations that have not been issued as of that date. So this is authorized borrowing that has not yet been actually funded or incurred by the town. So it appears you added that for these years. It wasn't previously included. So I wonder if you were able to indicate why you did that.
Sheer probably oversight. I'll have to check that out because they should be in there. So you're saying they weren't in 18?
I checked that and they weren't there, so I didn't go back to 17.
Yeah, because I'm 18 was our first year. Oversight.
Okay.
They
Well, I fully agree they should be in there. It's something that
yeah.
I've seen myself.
It's just, sometimes our links when we link Excel into the Word, sometimes when you make the final PDF, there's some things that get hidden. That's the only thing I could think of, but that's just sheer oversight.
And would you is it fair to say that this is having it included is a more standard approach as opposed to not including it?
Yes. I'm looking at 18s now. My guess is if you look at 18 in page 45, is blank at the bottom, like it's cut halfway.
All right.
I would say that link didn't come over when we made it. Yeah.
Okay. All right. It happened. Yep.
Yeah, I would say.
Any questions? No other questions? Not seeing any, Tom?
I don't see any. I don't.
Yeah, so I appreciate it. Thank you very much.
No problem. And then, if anyone has any questions about anything, don't hesitate to reach out to me anytime. I enjoy talking about OPEB, even in the week.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you, Tom.
Yeah. Have a good one.
Okay, there's two more things on our joint meeting. So it's the budget policy for fiscal 2023. Finance Committee approved that tonight with a few changes that are in it. Do I have a motion from the Select Board to approve? Then we'll discuss.
I make a motion to approve the budget policy for fiscal 2023.
Second.
I have a motion by Lee, second by Ed. Any discussion? Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah,
Phil.
if I may briefly, just to, for those that were not on the Finance Committee call, for expediency, the Finance Committee is approving this budget policy, which, as you see, is very similar to what was used last year. But I think we have a view that a more comprehensive review of this policy would make sense, and we need to budget. We need to budget the time for that, so we have an understanding at the Finance Committee that we'll do a more comprehensive review of this document in sort of next September, October-ish timeframe, and then hopefully we'll have time to then come to the select board and go through our thinking on that without being too rushed.
Any other comments or questions? Okay, roll call vote. Garfield,
Aye.
Eric,
Aye.
Ed,
Aye.
Lee,
Aye.
and I, so it's unanimous. And last, we have on here the budget meeting schedule. So on the last page of the budget policy, there's a calendar. The budget meetings are highlighted as Tuesday, February 1st, Wednesday, February 2nd, Tuesday, February 8th, Wednesday, February 9th, and then not highlighted, but Tuesday, March 1st would be the public hearing. All of these at 6 o'clock. I just want to make sure that that's all set with the select board. Everyone had a chance to look at the calendars and make sure that's okay?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay, so I'm seeing, Ed, you're okay with it? So I'm seeing nods of the head. We don't have to vote on it. Finance committee already voted on it, and we're good. We'll be there. Any other comments from either the finance committee or select board before I open it up to citizen speak for this part of the meeting?
No.
Seeing none, any citizen speak for this part of the meeting? Vivian Orlowski?
Okay, I'm unmuted. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Thank you. Just a quick comment. Since I don't see any other opportunity to say this, I just wanted to thank Chair Steve Bannon for forwarding a letter that I was able to put together over the weekend. I apologize for the late notice. As you do, I have many other obligations, but I thought that this information that I conveyed was either new research or something more important, which was the recommendation from the Affordable Housing Trust Fund board concerning their recommendations that while they were made at a December 1st meeting, the chair was unable to, due to computer problems, was unable to get them out until yesterday. So the Finance Committee did not have this information, either the research that I provided in the letter or the Affordable Housing Trust Fund board recommendation when they made their recommendation to the select board. And I would just like to point that out and thank you for your consideration.
Thank you, Vivian. Anyone else? Seeing no one else, if the Finance Committee wants to adjourn, we will go into the select board meeting. Actually, I do have media time. Excuse me, I did not. I should take any media questions. Seeing none, Phil, do you want to just adjourn your board?
I motion to adjourn on the finance committee side. Okay.
I vote we adjourn.
Tom?
Aye.
Aye.
Meredith?
Aye.
I agree. We're adjourned.
So Steve, do you want to just send us back to being attendees or whoever would do it?
We will. Yes.
Okay.